No matter where you come from, no matter where you're going, here's a place where you can take comfort in the knowing that whether if you've come to stay a while or just passing through, this door is open to you. Come and let's be silent. Come and share a hug. Come, let's pray together. Come love and be loved. From the blissed out to the turned out, from the pampered to the abused, this door is open to you. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. The God in us recognizes the God in you. The God in you. Whether you're black or white, gay or straight, Christian, Buddhist or Jew, this door is open to you.
Good morning and welcome to Unity of the Blue Ridge. You are that love and light that is here this morning. My name is Darlene Strickland, and I want to take this opportunity for us to join together and open our time in prayer. So we begin by turning our awareness within this morning, and we take that collective opportunity to say thank you. We greet this day with the recognition that it is new. We greet this day with the voice of a child and ask ourselves, could there be anything more beautiful? That spirit, that presence. We open our hearts with that enthusiasm this morning. Today we explore what it is to live our committed life in a way that truly reflects our authentic being, our higher self, our higher power, the potential of who we are here to be. And so for this time together, we give thanks, we celebrate, we are blessed that we may be a blessing. Thank you, God. And so it is. Amen. Thank you for being here this morning. We want to invite you to stand as you're able and join in this opening song that says, Rock My Soul. When all God's children get together, what a time, what a time, what a time. Gonna sit down by the banks of the river. What a time this will be. And when all God's children sing together, what a time, what a time, what a time. All the angels all around us are gonna join right along. What a time this will be. Rock my soul in eternal love. Rock my soul in eternal love. Rock my soul in eternal love. Oh, rock my soul. Rock my soul in eternal love. Rock my soul in eternal love. Rock my soul in eternal love. Oh, rock my soul. All right, we want to invite you to take this opportunity to turn, to acknowledge those around you with a namaste greeting, handshake, possibility of a hug. And we give thanks and acknowledge all of you that are here joining us this morning, wherever you are, recognizing that you're here because you're inspired to be here. And we're inspired by your presence and joining us, each and every one of us here today. Eternal love, rock my soul in eternal love. Rock my soul in eternal love. Oh, rock my soul. soul, rock my soul in eternal love. Rock my soul in eternal love. Rock my soul in eternal love. Oh, rock my soul, rock my soul. Rock my soul in eternal love. Rock my soul in eternal love. Rock my soul in eternal love. Oh, rock my soul. Play it, Dave. Play it, Richard. Yeah. Stand together when all God's children stand together. What a time, what a time, what a time. All the hearts in the world are gonna rise up as one. What a time, what a time this will be. Rock my soul in eternal love. Sounds great. Rock my soul in eternal love. Rock my soul in eternal love. Oh, rock my soul. Oh, rock my soul. Yeah, you sound beautiful this morning. Wow. Thank you, and you may be seated. Thank you for being here. As you are being seated, would you turn and give a wave back at our cameras? We want to acknowledge those that are joining us. We also want to acknowledge those that are in our sound booth who are helping with our sound, our video, live stream, and our PowerPoint. Thanks to all of you for helping with that. We truly appreciate it. We are so blessed to have a wonderful youth program, a growing Sunday school program, and as our children head over and prepare for Sunday school, I want to acknowledge Reverend Gabby Michael. She is the director of our Youth and Family Minister program. She also does so many other things. She's a beautiful singer, teacher, and she's going to be offering a class next Sunday. Will you share about that?
Sure. So as we approach the holidays, a lot of us have grief. And I thought that we could take the opportunity to resolve some of the unresolved grief that you might have. And most of the time, unresolved grief connects with incomplete communication. And I take you through an entire process that will review the entire relationship and complete the communication. So I hope you will join me. It's really a wonderful process. I used it with my brother and my baby and numerous others, and it was incredibly helpful. So I would love to have you all join. I know that there's going to be choir practice next Sunday, so I will offer it again. If you're interested, let me know so that I can offer it again if you can't make it next week.
So it's next Sunday, 12:30 to 3:30 after the service. Thank you, Reverend Gabby. And so as she is heading over, we want to acknowledge this beautiful group of young people, and there's some already in the back. And so we rub our hands together and let's direct this energy to them and through all children that says, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divinity in you. Have a wonderful Sunday school program this morning. What a beautiful group. We extend that same acknowledgement and welcome to anyone that may be here for the first time. We have some blue connections cards that have a red heart. You can take one of those cards if you just simply raise your hand. That's all we ask. If you're here for the first time and you'd like to raise your hand, we'll make sure we extend a connections card to you if you wear that heart. And if you're not wanting, there's somebody, put somebody's hand up on the back row over here, Michael. You can lovingly point, or if you want to stay incognito, no worries. We understand. You can stop by the Welcome Center and pick up one of those.
But we do acknowledge your being here the first time. I want to do a special shout out. We had a Zoom gathering Thursday night, a session for anybody that wanted to join, and we had people joining us from 8 different states. And so there's lots of folks that are joining in, so we want to acknowledge that. So whether this is your first time, whether you know it's your spiritual community, the same way virtually, we extend that blessing to one another that says, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divinity in you. I also want to acknowledge this weekend, this time of year. Yesterday we celebrated Veterans Day, and I'd be the first one to say that I, among many, wish we never ever needed what we call a soldier. Amen? We wish that there were peace around the world. But until we have that, there are people that take a stand. And so we'd like to ask you to stand if you are a veteran. And we'd like to acknowledge your service for each and every one of us. And to thank you for that. We bless you. And if you'll remain standing, yeah. And so as these men and women remain standing, we acknowledge all who sometimes have to place themselves in harm's way for the sake and the love of others. And so we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divinity in you. Thank you so much for your service. We truly appreciate that and acknowledge that. One announcement, choir rehearsal was set to begin today after the service, but Sarah Coors, our choir director, could not be here today. She did her best, we did our best to notify everyone yesterday, and I apologize if that didn't reach you. So there will not be a choir rehearsal after the service today. Instead, we're scheduling a special one Wednesday night. So if you can be here Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Now, some of you may be thinking, I'm not going to join the choir. And by the end of the service, you may be saying, tell me when you said that would be happening again. It is open. She's a fabulous director. Those of you that were here can attest to that. It's open for anyone. So again, the first rehearsal this coming Wednesday night at 6 p.m. If you can't make it, no worries. Just be here next Sunday after the service at 12:15, and you'll continue rehearsing through mid-December for your first holiday performance. So we want to acknowledge that and thank you for that. We also are excited that this is the second Sunday, and every second Sunday we call Sacred Service. We acknowledge our volunteer program director, Linda Jones, some of our particular teams of volunteers, and we celebrate after the service with food and coffee and tea and hospitality. So it's a wonderful time to stay. It's cool outside, so we've moved it always point this way. It's back in our youth area in a community room, so I hope you'll stay. But would you please welcome Linda Jones as she acknowledges a couple of our volunteer teams today. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you very much. Today, we'd like to acknowledge our community outreach programs, 2 of them in particular today. You know, Unity has been involved and very active participant with Feeding the Kids. It's a Feed the Kids program, and we've been doing this for more than 14 years. And this dedicated group of people are committed to providing organic foods and fruits to the children at the Boys and Girls Club in downtown Hendersonville. And they follow the guidelines of the Feed the Kids Coalition. And the beloved leader of this group, this volunteer group, is Jerry Conley. And Jerry, would you please stand, and all those that work along with you. All those that work along with you. Jerry she always notifies the group as to the date and the time that they're to arrive. And then they usually do this about every 5 weeks, right, Jerry? And some of the members will shop beforehand, and they are trained to offer, training is offered for when you're going to prepare the food. They sometimes feed over 200 children on a visit. And it is a delightful and a heartwarming experience. I've been there, it's been great. And these folks all agree that they are the ones who are truly blessed when they serve these children. So if you're interested in being a part of this mission, please see Jerry at the coffee after the service. And a great big thank you to you and your team.
Jerry, thank you.
Unity of the Blue Ridges Adopt a Highway. That idea began about 10 years ago, and they're now under the leadership of Fred Fix and Paige Ashley. Fred and Paige, would you please stand? And also, anybody else that has served on the Adopt a Highway? I know Pam and Charlie are away this weekend. Michael, there you look at that. So this team adopted a mile stretch of highway that they have been taking care of all these years. And they meet quarterly throughout the year, and they remove any accumulated litter on their highway section. So they gather here at the church and they pick up supplies like gloves and their safety vests, which is all provided, and they're shuttled to the locations along that mile. And when they're finished, they return to the church, put everything back, and they head out to have a great lunch together. So if you're interested in keeping the environment clean and serving our community in this way, see Fred and Paige at the coffee as well. Thank you all for your commitment and your dedication to serve your community. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And now let's prepare for today's spiritual reading. Volunteering is the echo of our sacred, shared community. To volunteer is to become a bridge, connecting our hearts and extending oneself as a presence of greater good. It is the alchemy of turning empathy into impact, need into opportunity, stranger into kin. It is the space where small gestures become powerful seeds of transformation and forge an illumined path to a more connected and compassionate world. Volunteering is the sacred art and the practice of being God in expression.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Linda. Thank you. Mary Kay Williams.
When a sunset takes your breath away, or a gentle whisper tells you everything's okay, when you look into a baby's eyes, or simply feel that knowing from somewhere deep inside. That's what I call God. God, like sunshine and the rain, and all before that came. That's what I call God. God, known by many names, but felt to all the same. That's what I call God. When I see the mountains bursting with new life, catch a glimpse of heaven in someone else's eyes, I find my life is bigger than my dreams, and how all the love surrounds me with everything I need. That's what I call God. God, like sunshine and the rain, and all before that came. That's what I call God. God, known by many names, felt by all the same. That's what I call God. Oh, there's something truer than my wisdom, bigger than my heart, bolder than my spirit, that burns through me, something braver than my courage, stronger than my strength, something brighter than my glory, and it breathes through me. That's what I call God. God, like sunshine and the rain, and all before that came. That's what I call God. God, known by many names, but felt by all the same. That's what I call God. God.
Wow, I echo that wow that people are saying. Mary Kay Williams, that was beautiful. And Brandy for sharing that gift of sign language. You show them your love and appreciation. Thank you. Wow. How beautiful. You never know where your gifts come, just like Brandy with her sign languages because of a family member that could not hear. And so learning as a child and as an adult, and now sharing that gift with others. Cultivating your voice, Mary Kay, and being willing to step out of your comfort zone and share to each and every one of these incredible musicians and to each and every one of you. That's what I call God. That is absolutely beautiful. Yes, yes, yes. Someone sent me a caption. Sometimes wisdom comes in the most profound ways, and this was according to the cartoon Peanuts with Charlie Brown, and it was just a few captions, and they said this spoke to them in light of the series. This is week 7, our fall study series. Today we complete the series that we've used this book, Living a Committed Life, as our jumping off point. And so someone sent me a cartoon and talked about how this had been speaking to them and how that cartoon sort of pulled it all together. And in the cartoon, there was Charlie Brown out on the baseball field. And he was in the back, and he had his glove, and there was a ball coming. It looked like it was just going to land, just like this. And Lucy and everybody's cheering him on for the ball, and just as it starts to hit, he just sort of moves, and it hits the ground. And then they're all screaming, like, what in the world? What happened? And he said, I guess I let the past get in my eyes. And you know, it's so true. Sometimes the past, sometimes the way we compare, sometimes our perfection, right? Whatever it may be, we can let things get in our eyes. We can let things get inside of us that causes us to be distracted. And so for over these past few weeks, we've been really talking about what does it mean to live your committed life? And not simply a committed life, but the premise here is committed to a higher purpose. By that we mean by intentionally making your life about more than survival, making your life more than about just our selfish whims and wants, making our life more about our unilluminated egoic desires and impulses. Because when we commit to a higher purpose, a more transcendent purpose, we invoke our higher self, a higher power. And so the crux of this is that when you really commit and aspire to being your greatest, highest self and to fulfilling a purpose that is bigger than mere survival, so to speak, what begins to happen is you begin to awaken and uncover who you are. So today we bring it all together and ask the question, how are you creating your committed life? What is it that each and every one of us are doing? What are we doing with our life? What am I currently creating in our life? Have you ever just had your life be a mess and wanted for the life of you for it to be their fault? But it's like, I want to make them the matter with me. But it's about realizing and turning it back to say, what am I making with my life? Because when we open and align ourselves with a deeper purpose, deeper intention, what begins to happen is there's deeper meaning and a deeper sense of fulfillment, true fulfillment, because we're living in alignment with our soul's purpose. It's as if, I love the analogy of an acorn, because an acorn is a seed. It is it's a seed for an oak tree. And I don't know about any of you, but I've got 3 oak trees in my yard right now, and there are acorns everywhere. And I pick those up, and I think the marvel of this, that is the package, the potential to be this tree. And so it is with us. And so acorns don't compete to say who can be the most beautiful acorn. Acorns strive to fulfill their potential. And so it is with us. We reach a point where our goal becomes the fulfillment of our potential. That's what Jesus and the master teachers meant when they said, die before you die. It means die to the mere purpose of trying to stay alive. Of course you're going to try to stay alive. Of course you're going to create your best life possible. Of course you're going to take care of yourself. And don't stop there. Put all of that toward something greater. So deeper meaning, deeper fulfillment. It opens us to a sense of oneness with our own source, oneness within our own being, a sense of connection, compassion, a true sense of communion. It opens us, when we open to a higher purpose, to a guidance system. We realize we're not alone. If you ever think you don't have guidance, that you can't tune in and receive higher guidance, think about the life of a bird or a penguin, something that migrates, something that hears this voice that causes it to cross miles to return to its birthplace, or miles to return to its baby. That there's an intelligence within us that is available when we begin to know ourselves as a self for higher purposes and a greater connection. There's also resilience. There's a resilience that comes from aligning with a higher purpose, and a resourcefulness that I realize that it is not just me, Darlene, the personality, but it is the I am that I am, the spirit within me, which is the same spirit within you, which is the same spirit of all creation. And there's a resourcefulness that comes when I realize that I'm not self-generated, I'm source-originated. And I am a vehicle, an instrument of that source. When we commit to a higher purpose, we begin to realize that we can be different, we can change, we can evolve, we can grow, and we can make a difference. So living your committed life, we want to look at 3 things. Number 1 is don't compare. Number 2, be all in. And number 3, realize that every step matters. They say that comparison is the thief of joy. A Course in Miracles says our ego lives by comparison. The unillumined ego, all it knows itself is compared to others. But not only do we compare ourselves to others, we also compare ourselves to our past. We compare ourselves to an idea of perfection that would somehow keep us down. I heard a beautiful sharing. It was a commencement address to the graduating class of the University of Pennsylvania. And the speaker to the class was Maria Popova. You may know her. And she said this to these graduating college seniors. She said, "It was a beautiful spring day, and I was very much enjoying a ride on my bike. I was riding near the river, and there was spring air that smelled like plum blossoms, and I was just in my zone riding. And then all of a sudden, someone behind me on the bike path started catching up. And I started feeling that sense of competitiveness, and so I started pedaling faster, and yet they passed me and started to pass me. I felt like they were trying to overtake me." And she said, "You know, we've all felt that when you're running, swimming. Have you ever sat at a stoplight and just admit it. Have you ever sat at a stoplight and saw the car beside you and said, 'Come on, Buick Escort, you can do it, baby, let's go.'" We just have that in us sometimes. Okay, maybe you don't, but I do sometimes. That whatever it is, that competition kicks in. Well, she said it really kicked in, and so she starts pedaling faster, but they keep catching up, and eventually they overtook her. She said, "I felt strangely defeated. As he cruised past me, I realized the guy was on an electric bike." Ha! Then she says, redemption. I felt a sort of redemption and injustice. Now I'm starting to feel better than. An unfair motorized advantage, very demoralizing to the honest muscle-powered peddler. But just as I was getting all self-righteously existential, I noticed something else. He had a restaurant name on the back of his shirt. He was a food delivery guy. She said he was rushing past me, not because he was trying to slight me or because he had some unfair competitive advantage, but because it was his daily job. Perhaps it was how that immigrant made his living. My first response then was to shame myself for the gratitude that I've had because I too was an immigrant. And because of some miraculous confluence of choices and chance, I'm not on a delivery bike. She said, or perhaps I began to think maybe this person has an even more satisfying life than I do. Perhaps he has a good mother and has the love of his life at home, and he may play violin every night and be just completely content. All this while I'm riding my bicycle. And she shares with this graduating senior, she said, but this is what I realized. The point, I began to compare my pace to his. I vacate my own experience of that beautiful spring day, and I eject myself into some sort of limbo life that's neither mine nor his. I'm just hanging out there comparing. She said, so here's the thing about self-comparison. In addition to making you vacate your own experience, your own soul, it breeds resentment or resignation or distraction or distance from what really matters. It's as Stephen Covey said, anything less than a conscious commitment to the important is a conscious commitment to the unimportant. And so an encouragement to shape our life around what matters most. When we talk about living our committed life, I told someone this week I almost didn't pick this book because Lynn Twist and her stories and everything in it is so grandiose. I had the concern, it's like, well, will it seem so out of reach? I hope we can all remember and realize that every story matters, every overcoming, every sacred act of sharing your life matters. And so the first thing is, don't get stuck comparing yourself to others, or as the Charlie Brown, let the past get in your eyes and compare yourself to the past. I've shared this before, but one of my favorite lessons on comparison came from the First Lady Barbara Bush. Back a number of years ago when First Lady Barbara Bush was coming into office, and the one vacating the office was the previous First Lady Nancy Reagan. And so the media was sort of having a heyday because Nancy Reagan was very petite, very polished, and very put together. And there was this thing going on of comparing her to the incoming Barbara Bush, she didn't present that way. And so one reporter literally stopped her one day and said, how do you compare yourself to First Lady Nancy Reagan? And she handled it beautifully. She said, well, Nancy loves and supports her husband, and I love and support my husband. Nancy is a hard worker for the things she believes in. I'm a hard worker for the things I believe in. And Nancy is a size 3, and my leg is a size 3. Everybody chuckled, and I love that because it tells you that she's learned to shape her life around what matters most. And so today, when we talk about living your committed life, to realize the ego, the mind, the psyche, it wants to compare, it wants to judge, it wants to sort and categorize. That's a part of how our brain works. But we just need to notice that and not get carried away by it. Amen? Because if you notice it and just put it aside, then you stay focused on what matters most. And so we're not going to compare or let comparison hold us back. The next step is to be all in to your committed life. Again, this is what it looks like for you to be all in and for you to be willing to say, where am I holding back? Where am I not putting my best self in, my best effort? Where am I really not all in? And in the privacy of your own consciousness, your own heart, your own soul, to begin to ask yourself those soul-searching questions. Why? What am I waiting for if not now? If not now, when? Am I putting my best self in? The scriptures, many from different traditions, have great teaching and value. So it is with the Bible. Unity looks at the Bible in what we call a metaphysical sense, primarily, meaning meta, meaning beyond. The physical, we look at it as not the greatest value being in a literal interpretation, because quite frankly, how do you literally interpret something that was written in a whole nother time to a whole nother audience with a whole nother culture? But if you look at the stories and you see the Bible as an evolution from what you could call Adam-Eve consciousness, a consciousness that is separate and outside of the garden, to a transformation of a Christ consciousness, the one that says the Creator and I, the Father, Mother, God, and I are one. A journey from being separate and outside, or a journey to living in the awareness of your own wholeness, your own true identity. When you look at it that way, a lot of the stories and the characters reveal characteristics about us. And so there's a story that comes from the Old Testament. It comes from 2 Kings chapter 5. It's about a story of a military commander. You could say he was a general, and his name was Naaman. Now, Naaman was a great leader, commanding the armies of the nation of Aram. He was successful. He had led his country to victory. His king held him. He was second to the king, basically. The king held him in high esteem. He was a very powerful man. All the people held him in high esteem. But underneath the armor and underneath the military regalia, he was suffering from a condition because Naaman was a leper. And in that time, to be a leper, to have leprosy, once that was out, once people knew, you had to go live in isolation the rest of your life. And so here was this man hiding behind his armor, but growing weaker and weaker because he had a condition. And as it happened, there was a servant, a young girl working in his house, that told his wife. The young girl knew what was going on. And the young girl told his wife about a prophet in her home country, Israel. She said, there's a prophet by the name of Elisha. And if Naaman will go see Elisha, I believe he will be healed. And so the wife then convinced her husband to travel, to make the trip, to go find this prophet called Elisha in enemy territory and to ask him for a healing. So Naaman went to the king and got a letter of permission to travel. He then started rounding up lots of gifts and goodies that he could present as his gesture of good faith, and he had something huge to offer in return for the ask he was going to make. He loads up all this stuff, he gathers some people to travel with him, and it says he makes the trip. And when Naaman, the military leader, arrives at the prophet's door, he gets off his horse, he goes to the door, and he knocks. And when he knocks, a servant comes out. And this big leader, Naaman, hands the letter and says, I'm coming here from a foreign land. I'm commander of the army, but I need healing. I have leprosy, and I understand that the prophet Elisha could help me. Would you please let the prophet know that I am here, that I'm asking for a healing? And so he stands and he waits, and in just a few minutes, the same servant returns, the doorkeeper, and said, Elisha said for you to go to the Jordan River and dip in it 7 times. Have a good day. That's basically what he did. And the scriptures say that this mighty man is standing there saying, what? First of all, you mean the prophet's not going to come out and see me? Now, who do you think's talking there, the ego or what? He's not even going to come out and see me? And he's telling me to go dip in your dirty, muddy Jordan River. I have better rivers in my own land. If I need to go dip in a river, why didn't he tell me to dip in one near my home? The prophet said, go dip in the Jordan River, completely immerse yourself 7 times. So he's facing a dilemma. What will I do? Is he going to follow the instruction or stomp off because he was expecting Elisha to come out and do some famous swirly move and say, ta-da, you're healed, and thank you for your gifts, and he could ride away a gallant hero? No. So we have no idea how long it took, but it said the people that were with him encouraged him. They said, what could it hurt? What could it hurt? It's not a big ask. Go, dip in the Jordan River. And so he does. And I can just imagine that when he gets to the Jordan River and the instruction is to dip 7 times, there's a tendency to get up to your ankles and say, am I in far enough? This is yucky water. Let me try my knees, my waist. Oh, Lord, my chest. I'm up to my neck, Lord. Isn't that far enough? I'm up to my nose, God. You know that's far enough. Nope, all the way. Go all the way in and dip yourself 7 times. And so according to the story, he does it. He goes all in. He dips himself 7 times. And when he comes out the 7th time, he looks, and his skin looks like the skin of a newborn baby. He's been healed. And so as the story goes, his heart is also healed. He becomes interested in new things, if you will. He becomes a changed man. And so the story goes. Now, we look at ourselves and say, well, what in the world does it have to do with me in my modern day and modern time? And that's the power of understanding the symbology. What Naaman represents is the personal will. It's something that we all have. The personal will that is always needing to surrender itself. Elisha represents the spiritual I am. Again, it is something that we all have. It's the voice of God within us. It's the pattern of the Holy Spirit within your very being. It's that within you which is always impelling you and informing you and guiding you in your own healing, in your own wholeness. The Jordan River, you may remember that's the very same river that Jesus was baptized in. The Jordan River represents a place of transformation and anointing. It's the place where Jesus was baptized and then the dove is said to have appeared. The Jordan represents when we commit ourselves to our own transformation. We immerse ourselves in our own holy anointing. It's something that nobody can do for us. And the ego is not, the unillumined ego is not necessarily going to like it. But it's something that we and only we can do is to surrender ourselves and immerse ourselves in that. Leprosy and the need to armor oneself up, just listen to that. It's part of our conditioning. It's part of an impoverished condition and conditioning, and any way that we would armor up in order to try to protect ourselves until it just doesn't work any longer. And 7, there's 7 days of creation. 7 shows up all the time in the Bible. The number 7 means as long as it takes until completion. It's the number of completion. And in the story, another powerful piece is the little girl, the people that travel with him, the voices of who we surround ourselves with. You're here, take a minute and look around. You're intentionally surrounding yourself with people, with inspiration, with things that you know are supporting you on your journey. And so this story is really a story for us. It's revealing to us that whatever is happening in our life is a spiritual thing. And whatever is being called forth is once more, how do I immerse myself? How do I surrender to the truth of my own being so that I can come up and reveal a greater expression of my wholeness? How do I do that? So we pay attention to how we compare ourselves with others or with our own past or with perfection or with anything that would cause us to get stuck. We ask ourselves, how am I being called to put my whole self in, not just to commit up to my knees or my waist. You know what it means for you to be all in. And so what does it mean for you? What is potentially holding you back from being all in? And the third thing, and perhaps one of the most important, is that every step matters. You could ask yourself when you look at the Naaman story, which step was most important? And the knee-jerk response may be, well, surely it was that last step when he went all the way in. But I would ask you, perhaps the first step was the most important. Perhaps the step where he asked for help. Perhaps the step where he asked for permission. Perhaps the step where he gathered up some resources. Perhaps the step where he did not get angry and run away, or at least if he did, it didn't completely thwart him from his path. So often we tend to focus on that one giant step and think that that's the step I have to make if I could ever get to that step. And to do that is to set our own self up for failure and for an illusion, because, my friends, there is no one step more powerful than every step that it took to get you to that step. Amen? And that you can say, every step I've ever taken, even the ones that led me through hell and back, where I chose to even set up camp and stay a while because I thought it was a good thing to do at the time, even those steps, I'm now going to say, I'm going to put it all that has come before, I'm going to let every step count for good. Nothing can hold us back from doing that. I want to invite up Elder Sharon Oxendine to share a closing story for today as we're talking about committing ourselves. Sharon is a part of our congregation. She's an elder. Come on up, Sharon. She's an elder in the Lumbee Tribe, the Native American tribe, and she serves on our board of trustees. I got to know Sharon a few years ago when I taught a class called Sacred Abundance. I've taught it several years. We'll be teaching it again next year. And Sharon went through the class. It's a 7-week class. In that Sacred Abundance class, what every person does is they look at their life, their resourcefulness, their time, their talent, their treasure, and what they're creating with their life. And every person is asked to identify some things that they want to heal or create or transform. And Sharon had a remarkable story because she put her whole self in. And I've asked her to share that with you today in closing. Would you please welcome Elder Sharon Oxendine? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good morning, all my relations. I am Sharon Oxendine, and I am an elder. I'm enrolled in the Lumbee Tribe, which is in the southeastern part of North Carolina. I've attended Unity of the Blue Ridge for about 8 years. And I am a member of the board of directors, and I'm also on the committee for Keepers of the Light. But I want to tell you that I'm personally the product of old Southern Baptist white clapboard churches at the end of dusty tobacco roads. That's who I am. I am the product of old gospel hymns and dreams and hymns and prayers that seem to never secure anyone's dreams of being out of poverty. My grandfather, my paternal grandfather, was a Southern Baptist minister, and he never seemed to have enough to make ends meet. Needless to say, he had 16 children, so that might have had something to do with it. In 2018, when I attended the prosperity workshop here, Reverend Darlene taught, she was right. I went all in. I mean, 24 hours a day. Because what I did not tell anybody in that class is that I wanted to manifest a dream that I had held for 30 years. I moved here 30 years ago because I wanted to buy land for doing indigenous ceremonies. The class ended, and I was really disappointed because I thought the day the class ended, just like the general thought, that it would just be there, the land would come. But there was no sign of that land. So I went to my ancestors and my Creator, and I said, if not now, when? I mean, look how old I'm getting. When is this going to happen? Or is this just a joke? I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm not going to be able to have this. Approximately 2 months later, a good friend of mine who had cancer was dying and decided that she wanted me to buy her land of 8 acres in Fairview, North Carolina. I began to think, I don't have that money to buy that land. How am I going to do this? And I continued to hold to the work that we had done in the Sacred Abundance class. I had no indication of how to raise this money. About 2 weeks later, an elder of mine, a mentor, a teacher, sent me and Nita the deed to the property of that land. And that was back in 2018, yes. So Nita and I went to work, and we began to work on that land together. Nita has created a business model where we can continue to show up here and keep our sacred commitments. I've been tithing almost ever since I came to this church. It was a personal decision of mine because I feel like I am being fed here. It's messages like today that have grown me, that have allowed me to develop a nonprofit at Medicine Well Way and become a part of a community that is helping BIPOC people and youth to be a part of nature restorative practices. In the past couple of years, Nita and I have run the gamut of feast and famine because we're both small business owners, so we never know what's going to happen. But I made a strong commitment to keepers of the light and also to raise the roof. And guess what? We completed those commitments. As a First Nations woman, I honor this month of November, and I also honor my ancestors and ask for their blessing for abundance and prosperity by offering water, tobacco, and cornmeal on my ancestor altar. We believe in giving back to our medicine people and our elders and spiritual leaders. We believe it's part of the tribal practice to make sure that they have what they need. When I studied with my teacher, the late Malidoma Somé, I went to his village in Africa in 2009. We went to Burkina Faso, and if you know anything about that area, it is the poorest place in the entire world. But he told us that we would be seeing some shamans and spiritual leaders who would be living very wealthy. Why, you might ask? Well, because the people of Africa are poor in every way except for spirit. And if you've been there, you understand you can't buy what they have in spirit. Their belief is that their spiritual leaders should be taken care of first in the tribe. Indigenous people measure wealth by having enough to give away. We also believe that we don't own our land, we don't own money, we don't own home. We are caretakers. And that land that we have is to be shared with everyone, and we're sure of that. I do believe it's your own personal decision to tithe and how much you tithe, but I wanted to bear witness to the fact that I believe I manifested this land because I was in balance with the universal tithes of giving and receiving. I also have found out that the currency in the spirit world is faith. And being a part of this community and building on faith and believing that we can grow ourselves together is a place where God lives, moves and breathes, and where he has his being. I encourage you to try and see how this might work for you. If you have not been a part of Keepers of the Light, begin with some small steps to begin to give back to the place where you feel like you're being fed, and begin to feel the strong relationship you can build with the universe and the God of your understanding. Today is our last day of Keepers of the Light, so I just wanted to share my personal story. It's hard for me to share about money. Money is a personal thing. It's a personal issue, and I understand that. And you don't have to give to Keepers of the Light to be included here. That's one thing you should know, and I think all of us feel strongly about that. But I do want you to understand that I've not only built a relationship with being in balance with the universal tides of giving and receiving, I've built a relationship with my Creator, that I have faith that as I give that money, it will also be given to me what I need. I think we have some slides that we're going to share.
I think she showed them already.
Oh, I didn't get to see them. I was out here. So this is our land at Medicine Wheel Way. And it's 8 acres that Nita takes care of all the time. Thank you, Nita. This is our community building our sweat lodge, which we hold 3 or 4 times a year. This is the little house, the little cabin. We got a grant this year to build the shelter there. And just beautiful land surrounded by water, and we are able to share it with everyone. So I hope that at some point you might be able to be a part of this too. If you didn't get to take the Sacred Abundance class, I would strongly recommend that you do. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Sharon. Richard. I didn't know what she was going to say other than to share about her land. So Sharon, thank you for that. Richard, would you and the band come up? Each and every one of us have a soul commitment. You know what it looks like for you to be all in. And today, that's what the encouragement, the invitation is, for you to consider what it means to be all in. To move beyond any comparisons, to be all in, and to realize that every single step matters, and every state of consciousness matters. Every gift, every act matters. Maybe it's a heartfelt moment of connection. Maybe it's a handwritten card that you take the time to send. You open a door, you offer help. You deliver a meal, you share a meal. You give a genuine compliment that goes beyond the surface level. You volunteer, you reduce, reuse, recycle. It was funny, as the day that I was working on this talk, I stopped and took my little dog for a walk, and everywhere I walked I saw trash, and then I picked up the trash, because here I am talking about reduce, reuse, recycle, do the things that you need to do, that you can do to make a difference. It's the willingness to not overlook those things, to actively listen, to pray for others, to plant a tree, invest in a child, tutor a child. Other things that we can do is when we're on social media, send something that's inspirational. Refrain from adding to the disruption. Don't add to the fire. Be willing to gracefully and gently interrupt and step away from those conversations that are starting to breed decisiveness. It can be as simple as, I understand what you're seeing, and I see it a different way. Or I have a commitment that if I can't do something about it, I'm not going to gossip about it. I have a commitment, if I don't know or if the other person's not here, I'm not going to talk about them in their absence. You would be amazed if you have the courage to do those things. It can shift the energy, the dynamic, and it also models for other people who, I guarantee you, so many other people are also wanting to know how to make a positive difference, but they don't. So we become more intentional with our words. We ask people, help me understand your perspective. I see it very differently, but help me understand. And when we find that us against them rhetoric, we begin to move out. I hope you're willing to step more deeply into your committed life. So there's a song, there's no words because it's real easy. It just says, I've got a feeling everything's gonna be all right. I've got a feeling everything's gonna be all right. Oh, I've got a feeling everything's gonna be all right. Oh, I've got a feeling everything's gonna be all right. Be all right. Be all right. Be all right. Let's do it, band, and pick it up. Here we go. I've got a feeling everything's gonna be all right. Oh, 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 I've got a feeling everything's gonna be all right. Oh, I've got a feeling everything's gonna be all right. Be all right. Be all right. Be all right. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and to turn your awareness within. I've got a feeling everything's going to be all right. The soul knows and holds the vibration, it is well. It is well with my soul. It is well. It is well in a sense that there is an ebb and flow of life. There are times of joy and times of sorrow. There are times on the mountain and times in the valley. There are times of prosperous and plenty, and there are times of wondering if there will be enough. There is a time and a season and a reason. And as we go through the ebbs and the flows, the ups and downs, the different seasons of life, as we experience the different states of experience, we open ourselves to a greater state of being. For there is a dimension of our being. There is a place the poet Rumi spoke of when he said, out beyond all appearances of right or wrong, there's a place and I'll meet you there. He was pointing us to the state of being, the soul state that says, it is well with my soul. And so today we open our hearts, our mind to this presence where all shall be well, where all is well. And in the midst of whatever is going on in the landscape of our life, it is from this place, this source, that we open to comfort. We open to healing. We open to guidance. We open to release and letting go and transformation. We open to opportunity and joy. We open to such an extent that we become the way, we become the opening. We become realized and established in this place. And so we enter back into our daily life and into our moments as if we are a person that lives in two worlds, heaven and earth. We're present to the facts of life, to whatever is going on in a very present way. And we also hold the greater truth that it is well. That whatever is needing to be provided, the need can be met. And it gives us the capacity to be deeply connected, to be touched and moved by what's going on, to be willing to feel it, and to be willing to be the way of the medicine, the healing, the light. We commit to that purpose, to being the one that lives in two worlds, in spirit, in heaven and earth, in form and in formlessness. And from that place, we can truly say, I've got a feeling everything's going to be all right. So I've got a feeling everything's gonna be all right. Oh, I've got a feeling everything's gonna be all right. Oh, I've got a feeling everything's gonna be all right. Be all right. Be all right. Be all right. So if you've not already done so, I invite you to open your eyes and bring back a smile and to stand. 'Cause I've got a feeling everything's gonna be all right. Oh, I've got a feeling everything's gonna be all right. Oh, I've got a feeling everything's gonna be all right. Be all right. Be all right. Be all right. One more time. Sing it out. Everything's gonna be all right. Oh, I've got a feeling everything's gonna be all right. Oh, I've got a feeling everything's gonna be all right. Be all right. Be all right. Be all right. Would you tell the person next to you, and that includes you, and that includes you, and that includes you, and you, and you. I've got a feeling everything's going to be all right. Thank you. You may be seated. I want to thank you. I also want to acknowledge and give a shout out to our study groups who have been exploring this together, and each and every one of the groups are carrying out some sort of community service project, a project beyond themselves, so to speak. So we'll be hearing about those soon. We want to thank you. As we invite up our ushers and our prayer chaplain, Mary Kay has got one more song that she's going to share with us here. And just a reminder, after the service, you can either go out those doors and around down the hall or straight out this exit door. And there is some wonderful hospitality. I saw platters of refreshments coming in that were making my mouth water. So it looks quite delightful out there. Cindy Jacobs is holding this prayer box, which is usually under the tapestry in the back. It reminds us that if you put a prayer request in, we're going to be holding that for you. We also send those prayer requests to Silent Unity, where they're held there for another 30 days. Cindy will be available after the service in the back area, one of the classrooms, if you'd like individual prayer. And then our ushers remind us today, Ellen and Joan are here with our ushering opportunity so that we remember that we are the place, we are the ones that provide financially for this. And so I'm a firm believer that when each person does what's yours to do, it all works. And so we do what is ours to do. We affirm this blessing together that says, divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am. I am now in perfect balance and flow with the universal tides of giving and receiving. Thank you, God, and so it is. And thank you, Brandy. Mary Kay.
Come together, heart and soul, as we love together. Young and old, we will sing together, together in one song. Come together from different worlds, we are drawn together. In our own way, we can pray together. Together we are strong. I see God in you. You see God in me. One path, one vision, one family. Come together, dreams and hands, we will join together to build a place we can grow together. Together we are whole. I see God in you. You see God in me. One path, one vision, one family. Come together, heart and soul, as we love together. Young and old, we will sing together, together in one soul. Together in one soul. Together in one soul.
Mary Kay Williams. Thank you, Mary Kay.
Once again, good morning. One of the nice things about coming up at the end of the service is that pretty much everything I was going to say has already been said. Talk about transformation. There's no better example than Sharon and Nita's story, other stories that have been given.
Tell them who you are, Michael. Tell them who you are.
Oh, who I am. I'm Michael Winter. I'm treasurer on the board. And coordinating with the Keepers of the Light campaign for this year. So I want to give an update. As of today, we've received 66 pledges totaling $174,000. Both of those numbers represent an increase over last year, and there's certainly evidence of our growing community and our commitment to the community. Every contribution matters, no matter what the amount is. Darlene said that. It's an expression of being all in Yeah, Darlene said that too. And it's transformative. And I can't tell you a story that comes close to Sharon and Anita's story. But I remember at service when Darlene asked us to turn to someone and say, thank you for being here, but this was for me. I've come to believe that donating, contributing, tithing is the same thing. It feeds us. It feeds the community, but in turn, it feeds us. Our pledges account for 50 to 60% of our annual operating budget. We hold the campaign in October so that we can use the end of the year, to turn our attention to holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas. They're right on the horizon. And we as a board can turn to our 2024 budget, and we value and count on everyone's contribution in time, talent, and treasury. If completing a form or going online is still on your to-do list, it's set aside. You can let us know at any time. This is the last Sunday. There'll be a Keepers of the Light table out front to answer questions, but obviously you can call in at any time. And as a separate matter, if you have already done so and not received a thank you or a confirmation, Marty was on vacation last week, you'll get one. If you don't, in a week or two, let us know. We'll make sure everything is buttoned up. So for everyone who participates with time, talent, and treasury, give everyone a hand and pat yourself on the back, because we're doing it for the community. And we're doing it for ourselves. Thank you.
Michael, thank you for serving. Thank you, Michael, for serving as treasurer and for updating this. We want to thank you. So as we bring this service to a close, I want to invite you to stand. Remember, no choir rehearsal today, but it's Wednesday at 6 p.m., and then we'll resume after the service next Sunday at 12:15. Let us close in song, Let There Be Peace on Earth, and then let us head out for refreshments together. There be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let